Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and we have the patch notes finally for the Sharon Rogers Luna Snow Crescent White Sirius Armor update featuring White Fox Tier 3. And we also got a sneak peek last night at 11 p.m. Eastern, where we saw all three of the new characters, their new looks. And then we got this cryptic message for White Fox's Tier 3. I'm not going to show you guys a sneak peek. You guys can go check it out. It's pretty cool, but it's not a surprise. It's not really a sneak peek if we had already anticipated it weeks ago. So let's just dive right into the patch notes themselves. We have the details on the schedule for the patch. Again, this is a mid-month patch, so it's going to be applied in waves. There's going to be no downtime, no maintenance. All you need to do when it gets to the patch time in your time zone is just close the game and open it again. It may take you a few attempts. It may take you a little bit of time. But yeah, I suggest doing it every 10 minutes, and you'll eventually get prompted to download the patch, and then you'll have the new stuff in game. Alternatively, you can just be on Discord or in a community that's doing the same thing at the same time, and people will be testing it, and they'll be like, "Oh, I got the patch," and then you can start trying to get the patch as well by just closing your game and reopening it. So it's gonna be happening at 9 p.m. Pacific, which is midnight Eastern, which is pretty late in the evening. Unfortunately, I don't know why they do these so dang late, but it is what it is. So yeah, midnight Eastern for people on the East Coast, and then whatever your time zone is, it's gonna vary by however many hours. So yeah, and then we have the new uniforms for Sharon, Luna, and Crescent. And so the funny thing is that there's sort of like an interesting process playing out. Before these uniforms were, like when these uniforms were announced or data mined, the reaction was, wow, Sharon doesn't really need a uniform. Luna doesn't really need a uniform besides World Boss Legend. Crescent really needs a uniform. And so you'd think if the character doesn't need a uniform, that they shouldn't get really drastic improvements, right? Like really drastic buffs. Because they're already good. Turns out, Sharon and Luna aren't really getting drastic buffs. Only Crescent is getting drastic buffs, which sort of falls in line with what we just said. Crescent really needs the buffs because she was really bad. And so she got them. However, now people are upset. Where are the buffs for Luna? Where are the buffs for Sharon? So I'm not really sure what people expected. Were they expecting these characters to just break the game? I guess so. I guess that's what they wanted. I don't know. So yeah, we got Sharon here. She's basically just getting a small tweak. Her uniform effect right now, I believe, just gives her 20% chain hit. So she's going to be bumping that 20% chain hit on her uniform effect up to 25%, and then keeping the 10% damage reduction. So right now, from the uniform effect, it's just a 5% increase to chain hit. And then here you have pretty much the same thing, just minor tweaks here. I think right now her shield gives 20%. It's an energy shield on her leadership equal to 20% of max HP. It's getting bumped up to 50% with the same 40-second cooldown. It's still a useless leadership, but at least it's going to be a larger shield. And then really the big thing with Sharon, like we don't know what her skill animations are going to look like and how many hits those have, but the one big thing you can see here is that Laser Buster is now increased to a 13-second cooldown. Originally, or the current Sharon Rogers has an 11-second cooldown. Now this might not seem like a big deal to you, or it might seem like a nerf because the cooldown's going up, Alex, but the thing is, remember, the Sharon rotation is 3 cancel 5 into 4. So the cooldown of these skills, it doesn't matter if they're all 15 seconds. It doesn't matter because you're doing them as a combo. What it means if the cooldown is going up, it means that it's going to be easier to charge her tier 3 skill. So it may be possible after this minor change that you'll be able to do, 3-5-4 combo proc and then 3-5-4-6 combo proc, rather than the current iteration of Sharon where you have to go through two and a half full rotations before you can pop the 6. So we'll have to wait and see. We don't know exactly, but really Sharon doesn't get much. She keeps her accumulation, she keeps the true damage and stuff like that, like the damage received. So all of the stuff that Beast Mode was talking about that he saw was obviously not true. We've got all defense down added on her 4th skill, which is good for players who need that. And then the really only big change, again, we can't see from the skill animations, and we don't know how many hits these skills have if they're being changed. But the only really big change here is that her, oh no, her heal is still just 1. For some reason, I thought she had a 2-second heal. Never mind. Yeah, no, that's it. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Really, there's really nothing. Sharon got a cooldown increase and all defense down. That's it. Now it seems like they increased the percentages. I don't want to dive too deep into this because, again, we have to wait and see. But it seems like they did increase some of the percentages. Like I'm seeing the percentage on her 4th skill was 138. Now it's 145. And this, yeah. So we'll have to wait and see how it goes for Sharon. But right now she's got a 5% chain hit damage increase, a better leadership, and all defense down on her 4th skill. Nothing, you know, you can't be like, yo, let's go. You can't really get too hyped for that. We're gonna have to see it in practice. You know, I think that the consensus, the summary here of the patch notes is that they're not very sexy. They're very boring patch notes for the most part. So we're gonna have to see how it plays out in game. Luna, on the other hand, gets some bigger changes, I would say. So they're actually getting rid of, I believe, if I understand, it says changes the effect. I think it means like completely gets rid of the effect Encore. Now this is actually something that I disagree with, and I'm disappointed in to an extent. Her Encore passive is the skill reset passive, where you do the first skill and you have a 60% chance to reset the second skill. And then when you do the third skill, you have a 60% chance to reset the first skill. So it basically rewards players who can memorize that order. So you always do 3 before 1, and you always do 2 before 1, because you want to get a higher chance to reset your skills. Now this can create a pretty decent chunk in pretty decent sized chunk in the difference between the damage or the score in ABX between very skilled Luna Snow players and not so skilled Luna Snow players. There are very few characters in this game that have skill refreshing, like Doctor Strange obviously is one of the big ones. There's a few others like Morgan Le Fay, but Luna Snow was really the most used reset character besides Doctor Strange, and she's actually more used than Doctor Strange. So the fact that they're getting rid of the reset, which is the thing that made Luna unique in my opinion, is not cool. I don't really like that, pun intended. But anyways, it is what it is. So they're taking away her passive, her Encore passive, and they're replacing it with just a generic buff passive. So this this passive called New Stage is just going to give her 10% attack, 10% defense, 5% all speed. Yeah, that's it. Instead of the Encore passive. I'm kind of disappointed in that, if you couldn't tell. So yeah. They're also giving her uniform effect 25% increased cold damage, which I believe before she had 15%. So they're basically bumping the cold damage up by 10%. Again, these are already very meta characters, so it's incremental, small incremental changes, not large, you know, game-breaking changes. She has no change to her first skill, that's why it's not listed here. And then she basically doesn't have any changes listed to any of her skills, in the sense of no new effects, no frenzy buff, or anything like that. She still has the guard hit on Freezing Dance. She still has the immunity. She has no super armor, no silence, no paralysis, no burn, which, you know, ABX players were crossing their fingers and hoping for. It's basically the same. You know, she has the heal, and she's got the, yeah, it's basically exactly the same. Yep. The only difference is they also added a 10% attack buff on her 5th skill for 5 seconds. So in total, Luna's getting 10% on the passive, 10% on the 5th skill, and 10% cold damage on her passive. Those are the changes that we can see thus far, in addition to the 2 skill changes. But yeah, we'll see. The 2 skill changes, from what I understood, were 2 and 3 are getting brand new animations. So perhaps if their damage is really, really good, that's why they didn't want the refreshing of Encore to happen. Because the refreshing affects, well, it doesn't affect 3, but it affects 2 and 1. So I don't know. Anyways, Luna will be better. We know that. But yeah, I kind of wanted her to be unique. Anywho, last but not least, we have Crescent. Now, Crescent actually looks really cool. She looks like a space underwater, like it's like a mixture of an underwater suit and a space suit. She actually looks really dope. And this is a humongous buff for Crescent. So for those of you out there who have been laboring or you know, just walking with the shame of having tier 3 Crescent, your time has come. She's finally worthwhile. So they're basically changing all of her passives, and they're, you know, buffing her skills. Her new leadership applies to all allies, so she's basically the best physical leadership in the game now. And I want to remind you that her old leadership was just combat type characters. So that's a huge difference. Now she'll be able to apply 60% physical attack buffs to Rogue, to War Machine, to all types of physical characters. Even Null, for example, deals physical damage, and he's a universal type. So yeah, very, very cool. She'll be able to buff Corvus. She'll be able to still buff Black Dwarf. This is a really substantial buff to her function as a leadership character, but she gets pretty good buffs as a standalone character. Now, they didn't really change her uniform effect, which I'm disappointed in, because I think these activation rate percentage chance when attacking things are dumb. I don't like them. But yeah, she keeps the guaranteed crit rate and the skill damage bonus damage. She also gains the chance to buff her crit damage above 200%. So there's a 50% chance for Io to just bump up her crit damage, I believe. I don't know if that's for Io or if that's, I think it's Io giving it to her. I don't think it's Io to himself, because if Io crits, it's going to be like a joke. So yeah, she'll be able to bump her crit damage up to 230%. She gains, I believe, some additional buffs here with this passive, because 35% physical attack. No, that's the same. Yeah, I think they're just increasing her base defense, the basic defense increase from 30 to 50%, and then the damage. Oh, the damage received is brand new. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Okay, so the decreased damage received is brand new, so she's getting a huge defense buff, and then her basic defense was 5% before, so they're adding a 0 to that. They're multiplying it by 10 times. So that's huge. So she's getting a huge defensive buff here. The offensive stuff is pretty much still the same. As far as her skills go, there are some changes, some actually really important changes. She's getting counterattack and iframe ignore on her second skill, which is really nice. In addition to getting her accumulation increased from 4 seconds to 7 seconds. That's humongous, because it is the same accumulation that Sharon Rogers has. So now that it's a 7-second accumulation buff, we can really expect Crescent to hit a lot harder. The only difference is they also increased the cooldown from 9 seconds to 15 seconds, so she's going to play much more like a traditional character, where you're just doing 5 skills or 4 skills over the course of one rotation, rather than going back and forth and mixing up skills a lot. So it's cool that she's getting these increased buffs, but we're going to have to reevaluate how to play her. And then she's also getting I think she still has that heal here. Yeah, so she's getting a bit of a bump on the heal. Instead of 10%, it's 15%. She keeps the all defense down. Actually, she gains the all defense down. She didn't have the all defense down before. She keeps the physical reflect, so she could be good for PvP. She also has this frenzy buff here with all attack, all defense, all speed. And then another frenzy buff on planet crushing kick, which is a really cool name for a skill, with a frenzy buff that includes 30% crit rate. So they've sort of increased her frenzy buffs, and they've actually added an additional frenzy buff. She didn't have this 40-40 frenzy buff before. So lots of buffs for Crescent, and the existing buffs that she has are having their time increased, like their duration increased. So for example, her invincibility and her immunity and her ignore dodge on this skill were all 4 seconds. Now they're being increased to 5 and 6 seconds apiece. So yeah, huge upgrades for Crescent. So upgrades for Sharon, and in my opinion, disappointing changes to Luna Snow. But we'll have to wait and see. I reserve my final judgment for when I actually get my hands on the characters. Maybe I'm completely wrong about Sharon and Luna. Who knows? Then we have the new tier 3 skill for White Fox. The skill itself doesn't seem very sexy when you look at the stats and the effects, but keep in mind, she's got a ton of buffs, right? She's got chain hit buffs. She's like the only character in the game that gives other characters chain hit damage. She's got damage against villain buffs. She's got attack buffs. So she could hit really hard, right? It's a really cool skill. She like shoots down these moonbeams, but we'll have to wait and see just how strong she is. And then they increased the hit count on Crescent's tier 3 skill, Moonlight Shockwave. So lots of buffs for Crescent. So yeah, that's basically it. That's it for the patch notes. Nothing else is coming as far as we can see. There's going to be some events and stuff like that, but there's no other content besides these 3 uniforms and the tier 3. There's going to be an all uniform sale coming up very soon. There's going to be a card unequipping discount coming very soon. So save your crystals for that if you needed that. And I'll hit you guys up as soon as possible with a live stream and videos on these new uniforms, covering them, my thoughts on them, my thoughts on the White Fox tier 3 and this mid-month patch. It's been It's been an interesting journey getting here. A lot has happened. We've lost some people along the way, but who knows? Who knows what the future has to hold? And I think next month is going to be really interesting. Not to already look ahead to the next update, but you know, now that we know this mid-month update is down on paper, the next update is a complete question mark, because Marvel Future Fight generally does not cover Sony updates, like Sony movie updates, unless it's Spider-Man. So we didn't get an update for Venom. I'm not betting that we're going to get an update for Venom 2. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to get something else. So it's completely up in the air. Could be an X-Men update, could be literally anything from A to Z. So yeah, leave me in the comments down below. Let me know what you think the next update is, and let me know what you think of these patch notes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.